Good day everyone and sir. So ako di ay si Trixie Cosdapa, ang first reporter sa Group 3. Ang amuang topic is RA 8749 or also known as Clean Air Act of 1999. An act providing for a comprehensive air pollution control policy and for other purposes. So usually refers to a formal law or a legislative measure that is designed para ma-regulate o ma-control ang air pollution sa country. Definition of terms. Air pollutant means any matter found in the atmosphere other than oxygen, nitrogen, water vapor, carbon dioxide, and the inert gases under natural or normal concentrations that is detrimental to health or the environment. So, any matter found in the atmosphere, this means nga anything at all parehaan ng solid, liquid, or gas nga present sa air. So, kung mayong tawag matter, can include gases, particles, droplets, or even chemicals. Ang example sa gases kay carbon monoxide. Ang example sa particles kay kanang soot. Example sa droplets kay acid mist, o lastly, ang example sa chemicals kay benzene. Basically, anything that's floating in or mixing with the air. So, ang example sa air pollutant kay smoke, dust, soot, cinders, gases, fumes, chemicals, and radioactive substances. Air pollution means any alteration of the physical, chemical, and biological properties of the atmospheric air which will render the air resources of the country harmful, detrimental, or injurious to public health, safety, or welfare, or which will adversely affect their utilization. So, ang air pollution is any kind of change or modification of the physical, chemical, and biological properties. So, ang moingon ta og physical properties, mao ni siya ang changes in things parehaan ng temperature, visibility, humidity, or the presence of particles like dust or smoke. Then, og moingon pud ta og chemical properties, mao pud ni siya ang change of the air. Ang example ani is an increase in harmful gases parehaan ng sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides or carbon monoxide, and lastly ang biological properties. So sa biological properties, dili mag-start ang biological contaminants like bacteria, fungal spores, viruses, or pollen in abnormal or harmful amounts. So, pasabot ani nga ang tulo ka properties which is ang physical, chemical, or biological is any change in what is the air made of or their behavior. General Provisions Section 1 to 4. Republic Act No. 8749 shall be known as the Philippine Clean Air Act of 1999. It is a comprehensive air quality management policy and program which aims to achieve and maintain healthy air for all Filipinos. So, ang RA 8749 daw is a comprehensive nga law passed in the Philippines that nga naga-deal with air pollution. Nag-create sa siya national policy para ma-manage, ma-reduce o ma-prevent ang air pollution para ma-protect ang environment o ang health sa tanan Filipinos. So, ang main goal po sa RA 8749 is to achieve and maintain clean and healthy air for all Filipinos. So, this means nga gina-make sure nila nga ang air nga atong gina-breathe is safe para sa ato ang health. Then, ila pong gina-reduce o gina-monitor o gina-control ang air pollution. The environmental protection goes hand in hand with economic growth. Declaration of Principle. The state shall protect and advance the right of people to a balanced and healthful ecology in accord with the rhythm and harmony of nature. So, kitang tanan daw is na a right to live in a clean and healthy environment og gina-make sure pod sa government nga ang nature is protected and respected. Next is the state shall promote and protect the global environment to attain sustainable development while recognizing the primary responsibility of local government units to deal with environmental problems. So, ang Philippine government daw kay nagtabang to protect the environment both locally and globally, aiming for sustainable development. Pero ang local governments ang nag-lead in solving environmental problems sa ilang communities kay tungod silang na ang mas nakabalo sa problem sa ilang community o kabalo sila og unsa nila pag-solve. Next is the state recognizes that the responsibility of cleaning the habitat and environment is primarily area-based. So, the government says nga ang cleaning and protecting the environment should be handled mainly by the people and authorities in each specific area kay nakabalo sila sa ilahang own local problems. Next is the state also recognizes the principle of polluters must pay. So kani nga principle is means that however this principle means that kung kinsa daw ang nakakos sa pollution is financially responsible for the damage na ilahang nakos sa environment o sa public health. Then lastly is the state recognizes that a clean and healthy environment is for the good of all and should therefore be the concern of all. So ang makabenefit daw ani is kitang tanan, whether directly or indirectly, from individual health to economic well-being. A healthy environment affects our quality of life, so it's everyone's responsibility to take care of it. Declaration of policies. The state shall pursue a policy of balancing development and environmental protection. To achieve this end, the framework for sustainable development shall be pursued. It shall be the policy of the state to first is formulate a holistic national program of air pollution management that shall be implemented by the government through proper delegation and effective coordination of functions and activities. So, ang government daw is nag-create og complete o well-organized national plan para ma-manage ang air pollution, and gina-make sure po nila nga ang tanan agencies o offices kay work together properly para to carry it out. Second is encourage cooperation and self-regulation among citizens and industries through the application of market-based instruments. So, ang batas daw kay gusto nila nga ang people and businesses to voluntarily do the right thing for the environment o gives them economic tools and incentives to make that easier and more attractive. Third is focus primarily on pollution prevention rather than on control and provide for a comprehensive management program for air pollution. So, ang government kay nag-focus on stopping the pollution before it happens instead of just cleaning up the mess, and build a complete long-term plan para ma-manage ang air quality sa tanang angles. Fourth is public information and education, and to encourage the participation of an informed and active public in air quality planning and monitoring. So, ang batas na gina-encourage nila ang people to be informed, educated, and actively involved in solving air pollution problems. Dili kay magahulat lang ang tao nga ang government ang maglihok or mangita og way para masolbad ang problema. Last is formulate and enforce a system of accountability for short and long-term adverse environmental impact of a project, program, or activity. This shall include the setting up of a funding or guarantee mechanism for clean-up and environmental rehabilitation and compensation for personal damages. So, kung kinsa ang nakakause sa pollution must be held responsible. Both now and in the future, they must pay for clean-up, fix the environment, and even compensate people who were harmed. Recognition of rights. Pursuant to the above declared principles, the following rights of citizens are hereby sought to be recognized, and the state shall seek to guarantee their enjoyment. So first is the right to breathe clean air. So kita tanan is na right to breathe air that is clean and safe. Second is the right to utilize and enjoy all natural resources according to the principles of sustainable development. So again, kita tanan ay right para magamit og natural resources. Pero gamito nato siya in a way that protects the environment and ensures that future generations can enjoy them too. Third is the right to participate in the formulation, planning, implementation, and monitoring of environmental policies and programs in the decision-making process. So, natay right to be involved in environmental decisions, from writing policies to watching how they're carried out. Then, ang government must listen, and then ang government kay paminawon ta og tagaan ta og give you a seat at the table. Next is the right to participate in the decision-making process concerning development policies, plans, and programs, projects, or activities that may have adverse impact on the environment and public health. So, natay right to take part in decisions about development projects, especially kung kato nga mga projects might harm your health or sa atong environment. Next is the right to be informed of the nature and extent of the potential hazard of any activity, undertaking, or project, and to be served timely notice of any significant rise in the level of pollution and the accidental or deliberate release into the atmosphere of harmful or hazardous substances. So, naatay right para makabalo kung ang bag-o nga project or activity kay makaharm sa tuang health or sa tuang environment. O kung ang pollution levels rise or harmful substance are released, dapat you should be notified immediately. Next is the right to access the public records, which a citizen may need to exercise his or her rights effectively under this act. So, natay rights para maka-access sa public records nga makatabang sa atoa nga masabtan nato and exercise your rights under the Clean Air Act. So, ginapasayon niya nga maka-take the action para maprotektahan nato ang environment or ang atong health. Next is the right to bring action in court or quasi-judicial bodies to enjoin all activities in violation of environmental laws and regulations, to compel the rehabilitation and clean-up of affected area, and to seek the imposition of penal sanctions against violators of environmental laws. So, natay right to take legal action kung ang environmental laws are being broken. So, you can pwede nimo siya you can stop harmful activities, force the clean-up of polluted areas, or ask for penalties to be imposed on those who break the law. Then lastly is the right to bring action in court for compensation of personal damages resulting from the adverse environmental and public health impact of a project or activity. So if nagasuffer ka sa if you suffer personal harm like health issues or property damage tungod sa pollution or sa environmental distractions caused by a project or activity, so naa ka right to take legal action to get compensation for the damages. Og diri lang taman ang ako ang report. Thank you.
Good day everyone. I am Stephanie Bialisoso, ang ikaduha nga reporter sa RA 8749. So akong report kay mag-start siya sa topic nga Introduction to Air Quality Management. So Air Quality Monitoring and Information Network. Prepare an annual National Air Quality Status Report which shall be used as the basis in formulating the Integrated Air Quality Improvement Framework. So this includes extent of pollution in the country based on reports of the department's monitoring stations. So kani siya nag-talk ni siya about unsa ka lala ang pollution sa country or unsa pud siya kadelikado na. So next is analysis and evaluation of the current state, trends and projection of air pollution. So kani siya nag-talk ni siya about ang kumbaga gi-analyze niya ang current state kung ni-improve ba siya or ni worse. Makatabang po siya sa mga authority nga kanang maka-prepare sa mga potential challenges sa future. Kay kani man siya maka-predict man siya kaning analysis and evaluation, maka-predict siya sa kung unsa ang mga future air quality. So next is the identification of critical areas, activities, or projects which will need closer monitoring or regulation. So kani siya nag-identify ni siya kung unsa tong mga lugar or mga ginabuhat sa mga tao nga kanang naga-powers sa air quality. So next is the recommendations. So kani siya mo ni siya mag-recommend na sila sa mga possible nga buhaton para ma-improve ang air quality. So another one is the DNR in cooperation with the National Statistical Coordination Board or NSCB shall design and develop an information network for data storage, retrieval, and exchange. So kani siya mura ni siya centralized central hub. Kumbaga didto mao ni siya ang pinaka-central gud ba nga didto sila mag-develop tapos mag-exchange og mga ideas or centralized hub siya ba nga didto sila mag-communicate, mag-exchange og mga information og dito tanan ang mga information. So next is about integrated air quality framework. So this shall be adopted as the official blueprint in which all government agencies must comply with to attain and maintain ambient air quality standards. So kani siya mo ni siya dapat ni siya i-adapt daw as kumbaga basis siya sa tanang mga government agency para ilang ma-comply para manindot ang air quality. So this include local government units. So kani siya kabalo na magitaan ni nga kining local government units man ni siya ang community level. So example ani is ang LGU of Moncayo. So mo na siya mag-community level. So same running non-government organizations o people's organization. Pareha ni sila nga kanang magbuhat sila og mga initiative para ma-improve ang air quality. And then sa academy or academia, mao ni siya kanang mag-contribute ni sila sa mga scientific research or innovation para ma-improve pa ang air quality. And then sa private sector, so mao pud ni siya mag-contribute pud ni sila sa dapat pud ni sila mosunod o mo-contribute sa air quality para mas ma-improve ang air quality. So next is the Air Quality Control Action Plan. So this shall include control strategies and control measures to be undertaken within a specified time period necessary for the effective control and abatement of air pollution. So this also include enforceable emission limitations and other control measures, means or techniques, as well as schedules and timetables for compliance. So it's also establishment and operation of appropriate devices, methods, systems, and procedures necessary to monitor, compile, and analyze data on ambient air quality. So includes also regulation of the modification and construction of any stationary source within the areas covered by plan. So this also contains adequate provisions prohibiting any source or other types of emissions activity within the country from emitting any air pollutant. So nag-contain po siya og kana ganing nagbawal siya og mga source nga kana ganing makapa-pollute og maayo sa air. So next is the control strategies and control measures to be undertaken within a specified time period, including cost-effective use of economic incentives, management strategies, collection action, and environmental education and information. So kani siya, mao ni siya katong mga magbuhat na sila mga awareness campaign o kanang mga magbuhat sila mga strategy para nga o mga magbuhat sila strategy or mga action, or for example magbuhat sila mga balaod about para mas mapatuman sa mga tao nga mas ma-improve pa nila ang air quality. And then so designated airshed. So what is airshed? So kaning airshed mao ni siya tong mga area nga ang air quality is kanang ang air quality management dito nga mga area is gina-prioritize. So kani siya nga mga area na define ni siya based sa factors such as ang iyahang climate, ang iyahang mga weather patterns, kanang kumbaga ang pag-usab-usab sa iyang panahon, and then sa mga meteorology and topology. Kay kani siya man good, katong mga weather patterns, mga climate change, maka-influence man good to siya o kana ganing maka-influence to siya sa mga pollutants sa air. Or kanang na-influence siya the way pollutants mix and disperse in the atmosphere. So maka-apekto siya no sa kanang mga mag-mix na dai dito sa hangin ang katong mga pollutants. So next is the different designation of airsheds. So the Secretary of the DENR, upon recommendation of the Environmental Management Bureau, will divide the country into different airsheds. So mao na to siya katong mga i-divide na nila ang kanaganing ang mga lugar sa ang country into different airsheds. So airsheds are to be designated based on climate. So mao ni siya kato kung giingon nga ang airshed is kani siya nga mga lugar. Ang airshed kay ma-designate siya based on climate, mga weather, meteorology. So next is the management of airsheds. So airsheds are to be managed by multi-sectoral governing boards chaired by the Secretary of the DENR with representatives from the local governments concerned or province, city, municipality, the private sector, people's organization, NGOs, and concerned government agencies. So kani manggod by designating airsheds nganong importante mangyud nga ano importante man gyud ning airshids kay makakuan siya ba makakontrol siya og kanang target pollution will be controlled more effectively. So makontrol niya para mas maubos-ubusan pa ang pollution. Ilabi na tong katong mga lugar nga katong grabe na jud kaayo og pollution. Og maoro dito akong report. Thank you.
Designation of non-attainment area. Area where specific pollutants have already exceeded ambient standards. Non-attainment area, a place where the level of a certain air pollutant is already higher than the safe limit set by the government for clean air. Management of non-attainment areas. The department shall prepare and implement a program that will prohibit new sources of exceeded air pollutant without a corresponding reduction in existing resources. It will also implement a program and other measures, including relocation, whenever necessary, to protect the health and welfare of residents in the area. The government will create and carry out a plan that stops new sources of pollution unless there's a reduction in existing pollution. They may also take steps like relocating people if needed to protect the health and well-being of those living in the area. The regulating body and funding. The regulating board. The board shall be headed by the Secretary of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources as chairman. The members shall be as follows: provincial governors from areas belonging to the airshed, city or municipal mayors from areas belonging to the airshed, a representative from each concerned government agency, representatives from people's organizations, representative from non-government organizations, and representatives from the private sector. Function of governing boards. Formulate policies and standards subject to national laws. Prepare a common action plan. Coordinate its members. Submit and publish an annual air quality status report for their airshed. Support groups. To carry out the day-to-day work of the board, a 9-member executive committee is to be elected at large by the members of the governing board. Technical working groups are also to be formed to ensure broader participation of all stakeholders. The EMB will serve as the technical secretariat of each governing board. A 9-member executive committee will be elected by the governing board to handle daily tasks. Technical working groups will also be formed so that more people can be involved. The EMB will act as the technical secretariat, helping each other governing board with support and expertise. Air Quality Management Fund. An Air Quality Management Fund to be administered by the DENR through the Bureau as a special account in the National Treasury shall be established to finance containment, removal and cleanup operations of the government in air pollution cases, guarantee restoration of ecosystems, and rehabilitate areas affected by violations to the ACT. Support research, enforcement, and monitoring activities of the relevant agencies. Such fund may likewise be allocated per airshed for the undertakings herein stated. A special fund managed by the DENR will be set up to pay for clean-up operations, restore damaged ecosystems, and rehabilitate polluted areas. It will also support research, monitoring, and law enforcement related to the air pollution. The fund can be divided by airshed to support local efforts. Sources for the AQMF: air emission charges from industries and motor vehicles,
fines and penalties for non-compliance with air pollution standards, grants from both private sector and donor organization, limited percentage 5 to 10% of the proceeds of the program known for the Metro Manila Air Quality Improvement Sector Development Program.
Ensuring good air quality. The National Ambient Air Quality Guideline values, in order to protect health, safety, and general welfare, have been set in the law. These are to be routinely reviewed by the DENR or Department of Environment and Natural Resources through the EMB or the Environmental Management Bureau in coordination with other concerned agencies and sectors. And these are the ambient air quality standards. There are two terms for National Ambient Air Quality Guideline for criteria pollutants, which is the short term and the long term. Let us talk about the short term first. According to the data we're given, the pollutants averaging the microgram normal cubic meter. The sulfur dioxide contains of 180 microgram normal cubic meter, as well as the ppm, which is 0.07, which means the parts per million ang ppm. The nitrogen dioxide contains of 150 and 0.08 ppm. The photochemical oxidants also 140 and the ppm is 0.07. As ozone 60 ncm contains of 0.03 ppm. The carbon monoxide contains of 35 mg normal cubic meter as well as 10 mg normal cubic meter and 30 parts per million and also 9 parts per million. And to the long term, there are various of times. There are 24 hours, 1 hour, 8 hours. For 24 hours, it ranged into 90 microgram normal cubic meter within 1 year. Also in 24 hours, there are also 60 microgram normal cubic meter as for 1 year as well. 24 hours contains of 80 microgram normal cubic meter, and the ppm or the parts per minute for of 24 hours is 0.03 within a year. For national ambient air quality standards for source of specific air pollutants from industrial sources and operations, there are many pollutants such as ammonia, carbon disulfide, chlorine, and chlorine compounds, formaldehyde, hydrogen chloride, hydrogen sulfide, lead, nitrogen dioxide, phenol, sulfur dioxide, and suspended particulate. So this is the another data of pollutants. Example, the antimony and its compound, the arsenic and its compound, the cadmium, carbon monoxide, copper and its compound, hydrofluoric acid and fluoride compounds, hydrogen sulfide, lead, mercury, nickel and its compound. Maximum limits of particulates. First is the fire burning equipment, which is found in the urban or industrial area, which contains of 150 microgram normal cubic meter, as well as to the other area contains of 200 microgram normal cubic meter. Another thing is the cement plants, kilns, and etc. contains also of 150 microgram normal cubic meter. Smelting furnaces contains also of 150 microgram normal cubic meter, and other stationary sources contains also 200 microgram normal cubic meter. Other stationary sources means a trade, process, industrial plant, or fuel burning equipment other than the thermal power plants. Industrial boilers, cement plants, incinerators, and smelting furnaces. Maximum limits of sulfur oxides. Existing sources, which is the manufacture of sulfuric acid and sulfaction process, contains of 2.0 gram normal cubic meter as SO3. Fuel burning equipment contains of 1.5 gram normal cubic meter and as of SO2. Other stationary sources contains also a 1.0 gram normal cubic meter as SO3. SO2 means sulfur dioxide and the SO3 refers to sulfur trioxide. Thank you.
For stationary sources of pollution not specifically included in the immediately preceding paragraph, the following emission standards shall not be exceeded in the exhausted gases. The table presents emission standards for various pollutants from stationary sources. These standards define the maximum allowable concentrations for pollutants in exhaust gases. The limits are presented as both daily averages and half-hourly averages, indicating that emissions cannot exceed these levels whether averaged over a 24-hour period or a 30-minute period. The table lists the following pollutants and their respective emission limits. So, ang daily average sa total dust is 10 milligrams per cubic meter. Then sa half-hourly averages is 30 milligrams per cubic meter. Sa gaseous and vaporous organic substances or as total organic carbon, sa daily average niya is 10 milligram per cubic meters. Then sa half-hourly averages is 20 milligrams per cubic meter. Hydrogen chloride is 10 milligrams per cubic meter sa daily average, then 60 milligrams per cubic meter sa half-hourly averages. Then hydrogen fluoride sa daily averages is 1 milligram per cubic meter, then sa half-hourly averages is 4 milligram per cubic meters. Then next one is sulfur dioxide. Sa daily averages niya is 15 milligrams per cubic meter. Then sa half-hourly averages is 200 milligrams per cubic meters. Nitrogen monoxide and nitrogen dioxide for incineration plants greater than 3 tons per hour is sa daily averages niya is 200 milligram per cubic meters. Then 400 milligrams per cubic meter sa half-hourly averages. Nitrogen monoxide and nitrogen dioxide for incineration plants less than or equal to 3 tons per hour is sa daily averages niya is 300 milligrams per cubic meter. Then sa half-hourly averages niya is same gapon 3 milligrams per cubic meter. Then the last one is ammonia. Sa daily averages niya is 10 milligrams per cubic meter. Then sa half-hourly averages is 20 milligrams per cubic meter. All averages values over the sample period of a minimum of 4 and maximum of 8 hours. So sa cadmium and its compounds expressed as cadmium, then thallium and its compounds expressed as thallium, mercury and its compounds expressed as mercury, antimony and its compounds expressed as antimony, arsenic and its compounds expressed as arsenic, lead and its compounds expressed as lead, chromium and its compounds expressed as chromium, cobalt and its compounds expressed as cobalt, copper and its compounds expressed as copper, manganese and its compounds expressed as manganese, nickel and its compounds expressed as nickel, vanadium and its compounds expressed as vanadium, tin and its compounds expressed as tin. So, this table presents emission standards for various metals and their compounds, averages over a period ranging from 4 to 8 hours. Then these standards are expressed in milligrams per cubic meter. And the table is organized into two groups. So the first group called lower limits. So another sa lower limits is cadmium, thallium, and mercury. With the combined maximum allowable limit is 0.05 milligrams per cubic meter. Then this suggests that the individual concentrations of these three metals should not exceed this combined limit. So the second group is called higher limits. This group comprises a broader range of metals, tapos including nadiri ang antimony, arsenic, lead, chromium, cobalt, copper, manganese, nickel, vanadium, and tin. So these metals have a combined maximum. Then allowable limit niya is 0.5 milligram per cubic meter. Similar to group 1, this implies that the sum of the individual concentrations of these metals should not exceed sa 0.5 milligrams per cubic meter. So, for vehicles, this document outlines exhaust emission standards for motor vehicles effective by the year 2003. It's divided into two sections called light-duty vehicles and light commercial vehicles. The standards are based on European Directive 91/441/EEC and 93/59/EEC. So the first one is light-duty vehicles. These standards applies to passenger cars and small vehicles. The limits are expressed in grams per kilometer for different pollutants. So, sa nadere, carbon monoxide is 2.72 kilogram grams per kilometer. This limit is specifically noted as applying only to compression ignition engines or diesel engines. Then sa ikaduha, nadre hydrocarbons plus nitrogen oxides is 0.9 grams per kilometers. This represents the sum of hydrocarbon and nitrogen oxide emissions. Then PM or particulate matter is 0.14 grams per kilometer. This refers to the mass of solid particles emitted. So, muna siya. Then the second section is light commercial vehicles. So, these standards applies to vans, light trucks, and similar vehicles. The emission limits depend on the vehicle's reference weight, which is categorized as follows. So, the first category is RW or reference weight is less than or equal to 1,250 kilograms. The emission limits are the same as for light-duty vehicles. So, sa carbon monoxide is, diba katong ganina sa carbon dioxide is 2.72 grams per kilometer. Then sa hydrocarbons plus nitrogen oxides is 0.27 grams per kilometers. Then sa particulate matter is 0.14 grams per kilometers. And again, the CO limits or ang limit sa carbon monoxide is only applies to compression ignition engines. Then category 2 or 1,250 kilograms is less than reference weight less than or equal to 1,700 kilogram. The limits are these limits are higher daw. So sa category 2 is ang carbon monoxide niya is 5.70 grams per kilometer na. Then sa hydrocarbons is nitrogen oxides is 1.4 grams per kilometers. Then sa particulate matter is 0.19 grams per kilometers. So sa 3 na pod is reference weight greater than 1,700 kilograms. So nindako na daw ang reference weight sa 1,700 kilograms. So ang limit na daw niya is muna ni siya pinaka-highest. So sa carbon dioxide is 6.9 grams per kilometers. Then ang hydrocarbons plus nitrogen is 1.7 grams per kilometers. Then particulate matter is 0.25 grams per kilometers. So this section details emission standards for heavy-duty vehicles referencing European Directive 91/542/EEC. Unlike the previous sections, these limits are expressed in grams per kilowatt-hour. So kilowatt-hour na po ni siya, reflecting the energy output of the engine rather than distance traveled. The pollutants and their limits are sa carbon monoxide, monoxide, hydrocarbons, nitrogen oxide, and particulate matter. So sa carbon monoxide is 4.5 grams per kilowatt-hour. Then sa hydrocarbons is 1.1 grams per kilowatt-hour. Then ang nitrogen oxides daw is 8.0 grams per kilowatt-hour. Then particulate matter is 0.3 grams per kilowatt-hour. So nandiri a footnote clarifies that for engines with a power output of 85 kilowatt or less, the particular matter limit is increased by a factor of 1.7, and this means the PM limit or particular matter limit for smaller engines is 0.36 grams per kilowatt-hour to 1.7 equals 0.612 grams per kilowatt-hour. So, the next topic is emission charge system and fines and penalties. So, this describes the scope of a Clean Air Act, outlining the types of pollution sources it covers. The Act mandates that all potential sources of air pollution must comply with its provisions and meet air quality standards. So, what are covered by the Clean Air Act? So, all potential sources of air pollution or mobile, point, and area sources must comply with the provisions of the law. All emissions must be within the air quality standards. So, the first one is mobile sources. It refers to vehicle like cars, trucks, buses, jeepneys, tricycles, and motorcycles, and vans. So, mobile sources are moving sources of pollution, including vehicles such as cars, trucks, buses, jeepneys, tricycle, motorcycles, and vans. So, their emissions are regulated to control air pollution from transportation. And the second one is point sources, refer to stationary sources such as industrial firms and smokestacks of power plants, hotels, and other establishments. So, ang point sources daw is, these are stationary localized sources of pollutions, and the examples include industrial firms, smokestacks of power plants, and even hotels and other establishments that may have localized emissions. These sources are often subject to stricter regulations and emission limits due to their concentrated impact. And the last one is point sources. The third one is point sources refer to stationary sources such as industrial firms and the next one is area sources. Last one refers to sources of emission other than the above. This includes smoking, burning of garbage, and dust from construction, unpaved grounds, etc. So, area, these are diffuse sources of pollution that are not easily pinpointed to a single location. So, an example include things like smoking, burning garbage, dust from construction sites, and unpaved roads. Controlling area sources often involves broader strategies like urban planning, waste management, and dust control measures. So the next one is charge system. So, nana siya duha ka buok parts, mobile sources and point sources. In mobile sources naa diri ang vehicle and fuel, then sa point sources is industries. Then other areas such as smoking, burning or garbage and dust from construction and unpaved grounds. So this outlines a charge system seemingly designed to address air pollution from various sources. So, this system categorizes pollution sources into three main groups. So, number one, mobile sources. This category focuses on sources of pollution related to transportation. So, specifically sa vehicle and fuel as key point components, this suggests a system that might levy charges based on vehicle type or fuel consumption to incentivize cleaner vehicles and fuels. So, sa point sources naman is, these are stationary, localized sources of pollution. Example is include industrial firms, smoke tax of power plants, and even hotels and other establishments. So, muna na akong gimen siya ganina that may have localized emissions. These sources are often subject to stricter regulations and emission limits due to their concentrated impact. And the last one is area sources. These are diffuse sources of pollution that are not easily pinpointed to a single location. Example including things like smoking, burning garbage, dust from construction sites, and unpaved roads. Controlling area sources often involves broader strategies like urban planning, waste management, and dust measures. So the next one is other sources. So, ozone depleting substances consistent with the terms and conditions of the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer. Philippines is a signatory. The department shall phase out ozone depleting substances. So, ang ozone depleting substances, this text mandates a phase out of ozone depleting substances, aligning with the Philippines' commitment to the Montreal Protocol. This demonstrates a commitment to protect the ozone layer. Then, sa greenhouse gases, PAGASA shall regularly monitor meteorological factors affecting environmental conditions, including ozone depletion and greenhouse gases, and coordinate with the department in order to effectively guide air pollution monitoring and standard setting activities. So sa greenhouse gases is ang PAGASA Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Service Administration was tasked with monitoring meteorological factors affecting ozone depletion and greenhouse gases. This monitoring will inform air pollution monitoring and standard setting activities. This shows an effort to understand and mitigate climate change effects. And the third one is persistent organic pollutants. The department shall develop short-term and long-term national government programs on the reduction and elimination of POPs such as dioxins and furans. So, persistent organic. Okay, so the next one is radioactive emissions. So, ang radioactive emissions is all projects which will involve the use of atomic and or nuclear energy shall be regulated in the interest of public health and welfare by the PNRI. So, ang radioactive emissions daw is all projective involving atomic or nuclear energy will be regulated by the PNRI or Philippine Nuclear Research Institute to protect public health and welfare, and this show a commitment to safety and responsible management of nuclear materials. So, this excerpt details a comprehensive approach to environmental protection, addressing ozone depletion, climate change, persistent or organic pollutants, and radioactive emissions. The responsibilities of different government agencies are clearly defined, demonstrating a coordinated effort towards environmental protection and public health.
So, good day everyone. Ako din ang Juan. Mag-continue sa reporting. Ban on incineration, burning of municipal, biomedical, and hazardous waste, which process emits poisonous and toxic fumes is hereby prohibited. Not applicable to traditional small-scale method of community neighborhood sanitation, SIGA, traditional agricultural and cultural, health and food preparation, and crematoria. So kani ko incrimination ginabawal yun siya no kay mga one bunim dili siya maayo sa palibot pod ba kay magsunog ka tapos pwede po na mapaperson maginhawa sa tao nga dili po siya maayo sa ang bunong health sa tao pod pwede po siya makadamage sa tuwang kuan ito ang ozone layer ang kaning kuan yung mga aso niya makakuha na mga damage manabaw ginabanan siya. Tapos next is ang kuan ban on smoking inside a public building or an enclosed public place including public vehicles and other means of transport or in any enclosed area outside of one's private residence, private place of work or any duly designed smoking area is hereby prohibited under the Act. This provision shall be implemented by the LGU. So ginabaan gyud no kaning kuan pag smoking kay dili mo siya maayo sa tuang kuan gyud sa tuang lawas sa tong baga. Pwede siya madami siyang baga. Di lang po sa imo nga ikaw mo nagrilyo ay madami po nimo ang kuan mas lala pa sa kaning kuan second hand smoker o basta kanang kuan mas maka sa palibot ba maka pwede maginhawa ang kaning kuan ang aso nang ginabugas sa imong kuan sigarilyo which is dili siya maayo para sa kaning community nga imong ginatuyukan. Penalties: violation of standard for sanitary resources for actual exceedance of any pollution or air quality standards under this Act or its rules and regulations. The department through the Pollution Education Board shall impose a fine of not more than 100,000 pesos for every day of violation against the owner or operator of a stationary source until such time that the standards have been complied with. Violation of the standards for major vehicles. No motor vehicle shall registered with the DOTC unless it meets the emission standards set by the department. In addition, the driver and operator of the apprehended vehicle shall undergo a seminar on pollution control. First offense, a fine not to exceed 2,000 pesos. Second offense, a fine not less than 2,000 pesos and not to exceed 4,000 pesos. Third offense, 1 year suspension of the motor vehicle registration and a fine of not less than 4,000 and not more than 6,000.